I oh we're live. Oh.
Hey!
Okay. Okay. So, welcome to the latest installment of Leftist Weekly. Sorry it hasn't been so weekly lately. It's just, there have been some difficulties with different schedules and all that, but hopefully we can start doing it a little bit more often. And yeah, that's so. I'll just introduce everybody first, since it tends to be a different crowd every time we do these. So, um, I'll introduce William first. William, tell us about yourself. Yeah.
I'm a Maoist to the LC. That's my introduction.
Okay. And as always, there's
What just
me. I
happened?
have a YouTube channel called Red and Black Revolutionary. My name's Jake. There's Mahmood. Mahmood,
Hi,
introduce
my name is
yourself.
Mabood. I run a channel on YouTube, which I can't even think of the name right now because I haven't been active on it for so long. What is the name of my channel?
The
Does anybody
common
know?
people?
Yeah, the
The
common
common
people.
people?
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
channel. Check it out on YouTube.
Yeah. And then there's Patrick Janis. Patrick, introduce yourself.
I, I'm just here, and I'm the left com sitting in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's
he's
a
eating.
filthy left con.
He's just like in the corner playing with themselves in his own couple of blocks.
He's in the corner playing
His
with
own
me.
world.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then next down the line we have, I cannot pronounce your name. You can introduce yourself. You have the anarchy symbol there.
Oh, Luke.
Sorry, it's Luke here. I'm stuck on iFunny, so don't even try looking for me. So many repubs.
All right. And then there's Aspen. You can introduce yourself. He's a landlord, by the way.
Fuck off.
And white.
And white.
Yeah, but Aspen, you can introduce yourself now if you want. If he's there.
Yeah, it seems like he dropped out for some reason.
Okay, well, he can be a
Looks
landlord.
like the landlord.
Yeah, he's just being a landlord now. Anyway, and then there's Axel. Hello, Axel. Introduce yourself.
Hello. I am an Ancom. I have a channel called The Black Rose. It's on youtube.com/anarchistblackrose.
It's channel, not channel.
Channel.
I've gone back to pronouncing it.
Channel.
I need to
Give
I'm
him a
gonna
break.
watch-
English is his second language, and he
I
speaks it better
have
than you.
a YouTube place.
I-
Why are you being all nativist?
fix your grammar again. Anyway, um,
I'm also part of the Anarchist Collective, which you can
Yeah.
find, I think, at youtube.com/Anarchist Collective.
yeah, and did you say your channel was Black Rose?
Black Rose, Anarchist Black Rose.
Yeah.
No,
And-
Aspen's back.
Okay, yeah. So you should
And he
check out.
dropped out again.
Okay, so no, it didn't drop out. It logged me off because it said that there was suspicious activity on this account, so it made me change the password.
What?
Yeah, so
Ooh, suspicious activity. I wonder who.
someone signed in
And
from
those are
Portland.
fucking
Oh,
communists.
yeah.
I think the NSA is on to us.
Alright, so anyways, I'm introducing myself, right?
Yeah.
No,
Alright, so anyways, so I'm Aspen, otherwise known as the Left Side Libertarian. I run a YouTube channel.
Whitey.
Nobody watches your channel. And he's gone.
It's a
He's
landlord
gone.
channel, so why would people watch it?
All right, let's just start because he dropped out again.
Okay. So, moving forward.
Hold on, how is this running if okay.
Nobody knows. Let's not question it before like Google decides to shut it down.
Okay. So, in light of that, we may have to go into hiding, but on with the first topic. So, we're firstly going to talk about the American police and the situation with them that has been escalating. So first, we're going to talk about the Chicago black sites. So, who wants to start off with that?
Okay, I guess I will. So the Chicago Police Department, which I believe is the third largest police department in America after the New York Police Department and the Los Angeles Police Department, and they have a budget of over $1 billion per year. And what they're spending this budget on is these different black sites, these warehouses where they're kidnapping people as young as 15. They're torturing them to get them to admit to crimes that they probably didn't even commit. So it's basically Guantanamo Bay here in America. I mean, this is what we've been fearing for a long time about the of what the police situation is devolving into. It's becoming a straight up police state where you could have people, the fucking cops, kidnap people and fucking strip them of whatever, fake rights that they're supposed to be given here in America.
Right, and I think there's something to be said also for how disproportionately this likely affects minorities, especially black people. This is well-known information at this point that the police force in America in general is, directly targets black people, disproportionately more than other groups. And and also a fact that they're just generally careless with minority, cases, like cases involving minorities. So I mean, this is definitely going to disproportionately, and the whole legal system. I mean, black people are they're probably the most oppressed group when it comes to the legal system. They're extremely disproportionately oppressed by the legal system. So this is like this. I guarantee you, this is really bad for racial justice within America. It's just gonna it's probably like a lot worse for black people that are involved in these situations. Minorities in general as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that this is a pretty big case, and the media would usually pick up on individual cases of police brutality, but they don't mention this. I haven't seen this on CNN or anywhere. I've only seen it on a couple of articles by the New York Times, and that was a few weeks ago, and no more elaboration from that. So it's this entire situation has been ignored by the media.
Well, yeah, that's not something that the media wants to talk about. I mean, the major political issues that they like to talk about is elections and when the next war is going to be. It's not is stuff like that actually extremely affects public opinion of the ruling elite is not going to be featured. It's just not. It's one of those things that's going to get admitted or omitted and ignored because of the way people view things when they get that kind of information.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of people that want to ignore the fact that police brutality even exists in this country. So when you have a case like this, or even really blatant cases in New Orleans after Katrina, when the cops just went on the bridge and just fucking shot people and stole their stuff, people would still ignore the fact that police brutality even exists. So this is an extreme case where it's clearly defining what exists here in America. You have fucking warehouses where people are being tortured, and it's not even being mentioned by the media because it's pretty obvious that people want to remain oblivious to this system that exists.
Yeah, and also I'm pretty sure that there are a couple media officials that agree with the police department, and they know that the public wouldn't really approve of this kind of stuff. So a lot of it has to do with who the media agrees with, and so they don't want to talk down or give rather incriminating information about groups that they agree with. And so that's a big part of the fact of why there's such a media blackout about this.
Also, I mean, this is not something that we should treat as new. This kind of stuff, both the media ignoring it and that stuff specifically happening, has been happening for a long time. It's a part of American history. So, for example, there was this one, I think he was a political, I'm pretty sure, either the brother of a terrorist or a political dissident in America, And what happened was that because of one of those two things, whichever one it was, they literally killed him with a drone. And they tried to appeal what was happening with the trial, but the trial was just thrown out. And they literally killed him, and I actually think it was a political dissident, now that I'm remembering. So they literally just killed a political dissident with a drone, just like a U.S. citizen, and that was completely ignored. And then there's also like COINTELPRO, which allowed the literal murder of two huge black activists. Not only was it ignored at the time by the media in favor of Watergate, which was that was just Nixon having a blacklist of some powerful people, and then that was ignored in favor of that was presented in favor of presenting to the American public the fact that this racist FBI program had basically literally murdered two huge black activists because they were black activists. That generally gets ignored today too. People don't talk about COINTELPRO. Like, it's not one of those things that we've kind of like Blackwater that we've kind of admitted was or Watergate, not Blackwater. Watergate that we've kind of admitted is not cool or whatever. It's one of those things that people just don't talk about anymore, or just never really did. So this is not something that's new. Neither the media ignoring these things happening, or these things happening in the first place.
Yeah, you would think in a modern liberal society that they would be a little bit more subtle about silencing political dissidents, but nah. Chicago leads the way.
Yeah, I mean, like, you would usually hear something about this, like, happening in freaking Jim Crow era South, like, where the cops would kidnap some black kid and kill him in the back of the police department or something. But this is happening in Chicago. So.
Well, yeah. That's not I don't there's not really reason to believe that we have left that era. I mean, in a lot of ways, pretty much what's happening now to black people in America is very comparable to those days where basically the South had after slavery was ended, the South had basically been given carte blanche to do whatever they want in terms of the black people situation, and basically it was illegal to be black, and it's not much different today. So we haven't. I don't think, in my opinion, that we've even gotten past that Jim Crow era. It's just now we have the illusion of racial tolerance, rather than not having that illusion, and it's stifled. If we actually knew that this was going on, we probably would have made social movements against it and maybe gotten past it. But since this illusion exists, that people defend to the death. If you tell somebody that racism still exists in America, they'll be like, "Oh no, what are you talking about?" And they'll defend the fact that that racism doesn't exist in America to the death. And so because of that, we can't actually get any social movements to change these problems. And so we're still going to live in a racist society if that illusion isn't broken.
Yeah, I mean, even just the existence of race as a thing is probably the best description that we have of racism inherent, the fact that race exists. Race was created to divide, to conquer, to oppress, and so I don't really, when we clearly still have racial systems and racial, the existence of race at all, I don't think that we can really say that we've gotten rid of racism.
Right. Okay, so does anybody else have anything to say, or can we move on to the next topic?
Kill Whitey.
Yes, I agree.
That's a good idea.
Anything else?
Police officers.
No, we should move on to the next topic now.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay, the next topic is the Ferguson DOJ report. So, we can go into that. I don't know much about this myself, so someone else should probably who knows a lot about it. Like this is the first time I'm hearing about it, so someone who knows actually anything about it should,
Okay, yeah, I guess I'll introduce this one as well. So the Department of Justice basically probed the Ferguson Police Department, the police department which Darren Wilson, the man who murdered Michael Brown on August 9th in Ferguson, Missouri, he was once a part of that police department. So they probed it naturally because after anytime a case like that happens, the feds are going to get involved. So after 6 months of probing it, they found really I won't even say disturbing. I mean, if you probe any police department, you're going to find this shit. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But what's going on, or what was going on, was that the police department, which hasn't been really getting any funds, they started to give out citations at an alarming rate. So 67% of the population of Ferguson, Missouri is black, but 90% of citations given out are to black people. So it's like way in above the average. So,
Right.
and they were able to raise as much as $3 million just off of those citations because they aren't being funded because of taxes. You know, the way that taxes are being distributed, they're not getting any funds to the police department. So the way they do this is by giving out these citations, and also, things like jaywalking has targeted black people in that community 93% of the time. We know the reason why Darren Wilson pulled Michael Brown over is because he was jaywalking.
Right.
So I mean, and also they had some the city council in Ferguson was sending around these racist emails.
Right.
There was one that was like really fucking disgusting. It was talking about how a black woman got an abortion or something like that, and then she got a call up from Crime Stoppers, and they said, "We're giving you $2,000 for stopping a crime," basically saying that all black men, or all black people, like even if before they're born, they're criminals. So it shows you like the mentality that the police department there has, and really the police departments around this country have.
Right. That's actually really interesting. It's kind of obvious to most people that there's racism inherent, but like that kind of just like illustrates the point even more that can we really say that we're not in Jim Crow times anymore, or is it more that we've just deluded ourselves into thinking that there's been any progress? I think it's the latter, especially.
And I think like going more into like systemic systems of oppression coming racially. Even if like say we've got the most liberal, bleeding heart policeman, in prosecutor. Hold on. Alright, so like we have the most liberal and bleeding heart judge, prosecutor, and policeman, right? So
Right.
The thing is that even if that is the case, it's not just like each cop or the city council specifically or the judge being racist, which is quite often the case. But I think we need to like look into why, and part of it comes down to the drug war. The drug war is a big part of systemic oppression for ethnic groups, such as the legal charge for crack cocaine is like, I forgot the exact number, but like 20 times that of powder cocaine for the same amount. Alright, so and guess which one white people use? Guess which one the black community is typically infested with. And this is like, so we have this obvious distinction here. And it's not that black people and poor people use drugs more, which is often, the idea, and even if it was the case, who cares? But that's actually not the case as much as people like to say. Drugs are used pretty much across the board equally by each social group.
And black people are more in jail for drug crimes.
Yeah, by far. Because, like, you'll get a felony for the same amount of crack that would be a misdemeanor with cocaine,
Right. Yeah.
Or with powder cocaine.
Right.
So, you have this, and that creates a so you've already have tons of people within the black community getting charged for what is basically the same thing that doesn't as badly affect the black as badly affect the white community. So you'll get a bunch of people in the black community who are felons. So they'll get felony charges, and all those things that were once illegal to do to groups of people are now legal under the guise of, oh well, they're felons. They don't get if in a lot of places they don't get access to public housing.
Right.
So felons don't get access to public housing. So you've got a large portion of the black community, a lot of which is already impoverished, not able to get public housing. If they are to live with a family member that has public housing, it'll often be the case that that family member, if they find out, will be kicked out and also never be able to get access to public housing. It will be way harder for them to get a job and get on their feet. So because they're impoverished, what are they going to do to get money to survive? Well, there's a large chance that they are going to sell drugs because they have no other way to make money. And so that perpetuates the amount of crack within the area.
Right.
And yeah, so you have this self-repeating system, which is largely based off the drug war, which is used to justify our racial discrimination, which is very systemic, very deep within our legal system.
Right.
The group that does the most drugs is actually like middle class, 30 to 40-year-old white people.
White women, I think, too, particularly.
Yeah, white women do quite a lot of that, I think. And so, but they don't get charged for it. And so I think that also goes back to why police are often racist. So when you have something like that, you'll immediately have police wanting to go after that type of crime, crack-related crime. And they also don't want to go after the big people, the people that, drug pin leaders, because a police agency will get basically the same amount of credit, shall we say, for arresting a small-time drug dealer as they will for a large drug pin leader. So it's actually more, I guess, profitable for the police department to arrest lots of small-time guys, some of which are already felons, and instead of going after the big ones. So you have this. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, what created the crack epidemic in the first place in black communities?
The CIA
was Reagan and his aiding of the Contras, which allowed cocaine to come into America through military planes.
Well, yeah.
After that, they had their CIA agent, Freeway Rick Ross, who used the expressways in Los Angeles to create the crack epidemic, which eventually led all across black communities in America.
Yeah.
Then out of that, the same administration created the drug wars, which has now, in turn, with those policies that you were talking about, now you have more black people incarcerated today in America than you had black slaves at the height of slavery.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's also the fact of when poverty tends to put people in positions to where they have to turn to drug crimes. So, for instance, in Camden, New Jersey, a lot of the people there have to sell drugs to survive because they're so poor. So, that kind of happens because it's a cheap and easy way to make money, and and it's also a good outlet to take out a good outlet for a bad life that you're living, and for people with poverty, they don't live very good lives, obviously. So that like the reason that I'm bringing that up is because what happened, with black people and their employment rates and so forth. What happened was, in their economic destitution. What happened was, in the in the during the times the civil rights conflicts were going on, the Jim Crow era, as it's called, white people saw their property values going down because black people were moving into their neighborhoods because everyone was so racist at the time. Blah blah blah. So what they did was they forced black people into low areas of economic opportunity, and thus they were basically like forced into poverty by white people for property value. And then now, instead of doing something to help that situation, we've done basically nothing, and even made it worse because it's harder for black people to get jobs, and they're oppressed by the legal system. So and so basically we're contributing to the problem even though we created it in the first place. Now we're contributing in a mass dose. So yeah.
So as I was saying about.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. So as I was saying about why police become racist, like even if they aren't beforehand, they often become this way because as I was saying, they have to go for small-time users or small-time dealers, I should say, because getting a lot of them, gives the police department more funding. It gives them more credit. So they'll also try and go after crack-related crimes more often. And so when a police officer is focusing on crack-related crimes, they'll have to mostly be in black communities. So when they see that, when they, they'll start to form a connection between, drug crimes and black people, where there isn't really much of a connection at all. And in fact, across social groups and social classes, drugs are pretty much used at the same rates. So you've got police departments doing that, and then the larger community also sees that prisons are filled with black people, and black communities are typically filled with more crime and what have you, because there's fucking drug wars and gangs fighting over the drugs, who controls the drug markets. And so you have the larger American community seeing black people as hooligans, as criminals and what have you. So it's really solidifies what would before be kind of hard to control. It would be like after the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King and all that, it became unfashionable to be openly anti-black. So they had to find other ways to create distinctions between white and black. And I think that we can clearly see that it wasn't long after the civil rights movement that the drug war, was created. Nixon created it, and Reagan solidified it.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just kind of want to piggyback off of what Jake said earlier about the property values and how they created the property values and how they created these ghettos in New Jersey. I was watching a documentary on the 1967 Newark riots, and they were talking about how the build up to this, you had these banks and these real estate agents who were telling white people in the area, oh, there's a black guy two doors down the street. You might want to move out of this area. So they kept doing that to bring the property values down.
Yeah.
And once the black people moved in there, they didn't have enough money to afford these new houses that they were getting moved into. So automatically that created these ghetto areas.
Yeah.
And all of this demise towards black people in the first place. So as soon as a black guy got killed by a cop, it just kind of threw gas on the fire, and riots erupted.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that you mentioned that, because I watched the documentary a couple of days ago about that. Situation.
William, did you want to say something?
Oh, I was going to say with the Ferguson Department of Justice report, they had used arrest warrants basically as a threat to get money, and there's a large percentage of when they arrested people. It was like a 2-year period. Every excuse they used was resisting arrest was why they were arrested.
Really? Yeah. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Knowing the police. Yeah, I think we should move on to the next topic because we were talking about that for a long time. So we'll move on. So the next is the LAPD shooting. So,
does anyone have any information on that they want to?
I do not. I do not. So.
Anyone else? Guess I'll introduce it again then. In Los Angeles, a week ago, there was a homeless man in the neighborhood Skid Row, which is famous for homeless people. Los Angeles has a really large homeless community. Like, I think 20,000 people in Los Angeles are homeless. And,
right.
Basically,
you might want to turn your mic volume up because it's like really low. And I can
it's muffled. Yeah, your mic is muffled.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, way better.
All right. So like I was saying, they targeted this homeless man because I guess Los Angeles, they have this rule where you have to put your tents away at a certain time, and he didn't do that. This man was also mentally handicapped as well.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess he fought with the cops a little bit, and while they had him on the ground, they just like opened fire on him. Claimed that he reached for his gun, but like the video that I saw, like it would have been pretty impossible for him to reach for a gun with them all standing above him.
Right.
And he's on the ground. So yeah, I mean it's just another case of police brutality.
Right. Well, the thing about
all the time.
And homeless people is that there's been a linear period of time in which like a war on homeless people has pretty much been developing. So a few months ago we saw the development of beautification, it was called. It's basically just a bill that was let's do what we did to the Jewish people, like basically what we did to the Jewish people before they were massacred in Nazi Germany, but now it's homeless people. Basically like they were putting up spikes, on benches so homeless people couldn't sleep there. They were putting ridiculous rules on homeless people's possessions that if they were left in a public space like a public park, they would be and they would be confiscated if they didn't come to get them in 3 days. They would throw them in a shredder. It was ridiculous. And then we saw that. We've seen this recently, and then there's also been the fact that recently there was a man who was feeding homeless, just literally feeding homeless people, and he got arrested for it. Literally, he got arrested.
Yeah, I know. My dad's friend gave money to a homeless guy, and I think he was in New Orleans at the time. He was on his way to Iraq, to fight in Iraq. He's a soldier. And what they did was, they had them stay, flew from Oregon to Los Angeles. They stayed in Los Angeles for a week, and then they would fly to Kuwait. I think that's how it was. And a cop arrested him for giving money to a homeless guy and said that it was a drug deal. So they kept him in the jail for 3 days. He almost missed his flight to Kuwait, which would have gotten him in huge fucking trouble with the army, and which would have just landed him in jail again. So he would have gotten in huge fucking trouble. But the police officer didn't even file a report. He was in the jail, actually undocumented, for 3 days because he fucking gave money to a homeless guy, and they said that it was a crack deal.
Right.
Well, I mean, the New Orleans Police Department was what just happened with the Ferguson Police Department? That happened with the New Orleans Police Department a couple of years ago. The feds, they probed into it. I mean, they're notorious for just being extremely fucked up. The way they handled Katrina, you had cops looting the Walmart. You had cops shooting people on bridges and stealing their shit.
Okay. I mean,
and they're like,
yeah,
my New Orleans Police Department has a history of being.
My dad was actually there.
Go ahead.
While, like, my dad and his friends were actually there when the Katrina thing went down, and he was there to give aid. And yeah, holy fuck, the cops there. They have some interesting stories about the cops. My friend's dad did see the cops taking part of the looting. He was like, hey, he went over there to ask help for the cops, and the cop just ran away with a whole bunch of shit, like mostly toilet paper. And just ran away with a whole bunch of shit, so they saw the police looting shit as well. Like, they saw the cops doing this. Like, I know people who saw that directly. There were cops that were hijacking cars. Like, it was fucking crazy, the shit that they saw cops do. But, like, also, my dad's friend also hijacked one of the cop cars because he was actually supposed to, like, the instructions were to, fucking hijack cars and take them to the base where they would be used. Because, it's an emergency situation. They had to have a lot of automobiles where they didn't, so he had fun taking one of the cop cars and leaving a note. So, they take some, give some. But, yeah, like, this shit happened. It's not just stories of, maybe one or two cops. Like, this was commonplace for cops to do that.
Right, so, yeah, so I was saying, this is part, it's pretty clear that this is part of a long time coming war on homeless people that's been happening.
Yeah.
On the part of the justice system in general. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's happening a lot in my city too, because I live in Portland and we have a very large homeless population. Part of it is because generally Portland people are a bit nicer to homeless people than they are in a lot of other cities. And so some of them do come here seeking refuge, but recently, like, cops have been harassing them all the fucking time, even in places where, like, they're absolutely 100% permitted. Like, I can't fucking drive through my city without, a couple of fucking pedal cops harassing a guy who's sleeping on a bench in the middle of the day. It's not even like it's nighttime, it's the middle of the day and he's taking a fucking nap, but they can't leave him alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything to say on the NYPD shooting, or no?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Well, then I'll move on.
Hey, who's Karam?
I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, someone just joined the call.
Yeah, I saw it. I don't know. I think that might be Karen. I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, next topic would be.
Yeah. So the next topic is the Camden Police Force. I brought this.
Yeah, we already kind of talked about that.
Did?
Oh, didn't we? Didn't we talk about that just a little bit ago?
No, I only brought up people in the drug business in Camden. I didn't.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So the Camden police thing. I suggested this in the move a couple days ago for the subject of this because I thought it was important, and it's something that's going to be affecting a lot of people, especially probably relatively in the next few years. So what happened with this is that the Camden police were severely lacking resources to do what they do, be police officers and whatever. So what happened was Chris Christie completely dismantled the police system there and set up a completely new one. Like, he completely revamped all of it. And what he did with it was basically militarize it. He set up a militarized police force, and we're kind of people. Radicals have been used to militarized police forces for a while now because that's what's been happening, but this is on another level. So what has happened basically is, one, they have been setting up military-grade surveillance technology everywhere. There's this one thing that picks up sound that if you fire a gun, and here's the gunshot, it could from a really weird, a really crazy amount distance away. Never mind if you're right next to the thing, it can pick up the sound of the gun, and it can tell you what gun it is. So there's that. There's just it's just general military grade surveillance technology that they have there, and people understandably feel like they're being watched, that they have no privacy anymore because of those cameras. There's some people that like them, but a lot of people feel extremely encroached on. So it's very creepy 1984-esque. So yeah, that's part of it. The other part of it is basically they have police on the patrolling the streets, swarming around the streets, it's a military occupation there. And if people are walking or hanging out in a place that drug deals usually go on, they pretty much harass those people out of that place. So if you're standing there outside a restaurant where a drug deal normally goes down, waiting for a sandwich with your friend or whatever, they're probably going to harass you and tell you shouldn't be there. They also harassed this one kid. And they filmed this on camera in the documentary that I was watching about this. They harassed this one kid. They basically treated him like he was doing something sketchy because he was from another city, and walking in Camden. That's the reason why they were stopping him. So yeah, that's and so naturally they come under question for this. Is there oversight of this? All of that. And there's actually no if you talk to the guy who came up with the program, helped develop the program for Camden with regards to police, he'll tell you, oh yes, it's we've told them to do this in terms of people oversight, and we've done this and blah blah blah, and then we have the computers there that show you what they're doing and all. But the computers, number one, they have these giant monitors in which the police can coordinate the surveillance activities on, and it's not like people are going to be able to see the monitors. They're in the police station, and no one, they're pretty much closed off from the public. No one has access to seeing them. And the rest of the stuff that he talks about are just suggestions that haven't been put in place at all. And so there's basically no oversight. The whole thing is it's under the authority of the police department there. There was this really interesting interview that they did with this one police officer. They asked him what a police state would look like, and he literally, word for word, described what they were doing in Camden. So it's pretty crazy, and the reason I think this is so important is because it's in a fairly known city, in a fairly known state right now. It's not like it's where this stuff normally tends to be behind the curtain. This is out in front for all to see, and so it's kind of just blatant state tyranny that's happening to these people. And the thing is this is not something that's specific to them. This is something that's actually starting to be accepted by more police districts, and has a high probability of being more accepted by police districts in the future. So it's actually pretty important, and we need to develop ways of dealing with this kind of stuff, because this could have major consequences. Consequences. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually.
I'm ready for the police state.
Let's go. So does anyone else have anything to say?
No.
All right. So next topic then. So Axel, are you still here?
I am still here.
Okay, so the next topic is the Swedish strike. So since I've been talking a lot, you can talk about that a bit before I chime in.
I think I didn't actually like you've read something recently that I haven't, I think.
No, I just read the post.
Well, I think basically what we have in Sweden right now. This was a very this was a very specific case. With a can't think of the word right now. It doesn't matter. With a specific company. And basically what we have in Sweden, we have collective agreements. We don't have any like set minimum wage or anything or any really. We don't have much laws around that. We have laws, but I mean they don't. The specific conditions on the workplace and such are decided upon with collective agreements, which is just like an agreement between your union and your workplace. And from what I have gathered, there is an organization which is like an organization representing some corporations, and they have been trying to limit the right of unions to strike, specifically our syndicalist union, by trying to have them tied to other unions' collective agreements. And basically that's my understanding of it.
Right, yeah.
And it's obviously bullshit.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, it's basically what Axel said. You know, people basically the right to strike in Sweden has become attacked on by the state, and you know, some new laws that are being passed. And there's been blowback from like the anarcho-syndicalists there, but so I mean, essentially, you know, it's kind of like people paint this picture of Sweden as this like great liberal democracy paradise, but it really isn't. And I think this is an example of how invalid that position is and how invalid that idea is.
Yeah, and there's also a while back during a strike that was being there was I think it was train workers were striking, and there's a party in Sweden called, I think it's called the Liberal People's Party in English.
Right.
Which is like right liberals.
Right.
And there was a proposition from them to have proportionality demand, or like for a strike to be allowed to be lawful, it would have to be quote proportional to the issue at hand.
Right.
Which of course can just like be manipulated into anything by the company in question.
Right, right.
And there was also some backlash to that when that happened.
Right.
But yeah, that law doesn't actually exist, thank God. But yeah, there was a proposition to make that law.
So, anything anyone wants to say on that?
I missed most of that conversation, so I ain't got nothing.
Okay. Okay, I guess not. So, next topic. Boko Haram declares allegiance. I don't know anything about this, so yeah, I think Mahmoud will have to start.
This literally just happened a few hours ago.
All right.
The leader of Boko Haram, I guess, made a statement via Twitter, of all places, that Boko Haram has now declared official allegiance to the Islamic State. So now Boko Haram is itself a part of the Islamic State.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of incredible because like the Islamic State is not only just in Syria and Iraq now, it's also in Egypt, it's in Libya, it's in Yemen, it's in Afghanistan, and it's in Pakistan. So like
Right.
these dudes are spreading and they're spreading quickly. And now it's in Nigeria as well.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean,
That's interesting. Because basically what's being done with ISIS by the U.S. is they're funding it, but their plan is to just use it for their own imperialist interest and then squash it when they're done. So that's like, okay, if they're in all these places, and those are places in which they want ISIS to be, like Syria and all of that. So, this is it kind of shows that it's working, but it also like what implications is their side going to have when the U.S. decides to smash them? Like what implications is that going to have? So yeah, uh, that's what I had to say.
well, I mean, I think this is more of a sign that the U.S. intervention against ISIS is failing, like hard,
Yeah.
because like their whole thing behind going into to fight ISIS was basically just to get into Syria. Like we already know that. That's what
Yeah.
they really wanted to do. But
Yeah.
now it's spreading rapidly to places where you're not going to be able to handle military intervention in several different countries
Yeah.
across like I don't know a 5,000-mile radius. So
Right. Yeah. So this is like that's what I was trying to get at. Like this is probably going to be a situation in which the U.S.'s own actions, its own imperialist interests and actions are going to bite it in the ass. So
Like, it's. Can you really say that it has spread? Because I mean, it's just like the organizations were already there. It's just their labels have changed. You can't really say that their goals or activities have changed either, can you? It's just like they are
Well, I
now
mean,
like
yeah, but
more
even if it's
unified
like,
in that.
yeah,
it's a
I mean,
greater network though, and it's
yeah,
more
it being
organized. It's
more
not just
organized
these
is a
loose
big deal.
branches
But I mean,
of random
I wouldn't be
jihadis. It's
surprised if
now it's
I wouldn't be surprised if they were organized before then as well. But like, yeah, official price, we can't really say anything before that.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, if the goal of U.S. and the West is to defeat ISIS, and now you have these groups, even if they were organized prior to, now they're claiming ISIS, and it's in this 5,000-mile radius. I mean, how are you gonna fight those people simultaneously?
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
not gonna happen. Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like having, how should I say this? Having allies within a network is kind of a big deal. Because I mean that means that what access to weaponry or land or something that one group gets is also land and weaponry that another group gets, which opens up like things for training grounds, manufacturing, and just basically it's like, how should I explain this?
it increases the social power of the group.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't like it's no longer shady it doesn't have to be shady under the table stuff. It can be quite public, and what the fuck are you gonna do about it?
yeah, and I mean, like the Chadian government, they have a report that's saying that a large percentage of the weapons, like the tanks and the anti-aircraft guns that Boko Haram owns, are leftovers from the Libyan invasion that NATO did in 2011. So, so basically, you have one botched invasion that has not only destabilized Libya, but now it's also given this organization, which is carving out its own little Islamic state in Nigeria and bordering countries. Not only have you given them the weaponry, now you're another botched invasion, which this is totally botched. The ISIS population continues to grow every time they do an airstrike. So now you have this network that you made a boogeyman, now it's actually becoming a fucking boogeyman.
Right. Well, yeah, and then that has the adverse effect of in their favor as well, because like when they start to spread, it gives them more ammo. So it gives them more ammo to say, well, look, I mean, ISIS is this giant threat. It's becoming more of a threat. You know, I think we need some freedom and democracy right now. You know, so like it just gives them more ammo to.
But they're not going to invade 5 countries, dude. Like, you know, they're not going to invade 5 countries.
No,
you know?
I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying it gives them more ammo to do what they do.
Yeah.
Like it does. Like regardless of whether they're gonna invade those countries, you know, which I know they're not. But regardless of whether that happens, it gives them ammo for their own action within the region, whether that be boots on the ground or funding different groups or whatever. And it gives them, you know, more of a validation from the public, and you know, drums up more, you know, support for intervention in these areas, you know, where they've been severely needing it. I mean, the Iraq and Afghanistan wars have actually, you know, disenfranchised people very much from supporting, you know, the actions or you know, the imperialist states, and so you know, that gives them to drum up the support they've been needing since that has happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how the public still trusts the American government when we're talking about foreign policy. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's pretty obvious that their actions are the reason why these groups are spreading in the first place.
Yeah,
I don't see how people could be that blind.
Like when it'll sometimes. What the fuck? Alright, so it'll sometimes be the.
What is that noise?
I don't know. It'll sometimes be the case that like when someone brings this up, that airstrikes are just making more of these people, or just creating more terrorists, you know. That's when the "well, just bomb them to the Stone Age" crowd comes, and the bomb them to the Stone Age crowd isn't like as small and obscure and just, you know, a couple people anymore. It's fucking politicians saying this shit.
Yeah.
Like we've gotten to.
Well, I mean, it's always been politicians, like the extreme.
Like, well, yeah, I mean, there've been a lot that have politicians have been saying, you know, well, we need to be stronger and whatnot. But like the ones that are like just fucking bomb them to the Stone Age have, for the most part, been a bit, you know, it wouldn't be popular to say that, but it's becoming so.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what would happen if we got like if America got boots on the ground, started some kind of land invasion
Like boots on the ground, where specifically?
like just,
in every fucking country where ISIS exists?
No, not in every country. Like in specific parts where they're more powerful. Yeah.
So Syria, Iraq, basically.
Yeah. I'm wondering about the social implications of that.
Tell them how long it takes.
Another invasion.
Most of the people in the countries that the U.S. is doing actions in, most of those people, like, and this is not just Afghanistan, this is just general, and where the U.S. has gotten their hand involved, people don't like the U.S. Like within this, you know, the Sudanese conflict, you know, between that kind of thing, you know, between the Houthis and all of that. The Houthis, like, they think that the U.S. like is fueling that conflict, and you know, and they think that the U.S. is like the giant satanic force behind the whole thing, and they think that because, you know, U.S. like they're getting bombed with U.S. bombshells, basically. Like they're bombed, and then, you know, on the bombshell it says "Made in the U.S." because we give weapons to the Saudis that fund the Sudanese government, or that, you know, give these weapons to the Sudanese government and all of that. So it's like like people just don't like the U.S.'s intervention. So and it's becoming increasing, and so there's a lot of animosity towards them, and that's those the social implications of boots on the ground in these areas probably pretty high because that just some their hatred for the U.S. as an imperialist power, basically, and they're not wrong. Like they're pretty much right in that instance. But that would probably, but nonetheless, that would probably be the social implications. It would not be good for the U.S. and its interests, likely.
I think like at this point, the only thing that can stop these type of like, radical, just I don't know, like fucked up groups. Like the only thing that could possibly stop them at this point are the people themselves, and I think that's going to start to happen.
Like these groups.
Well, yeah, I mean it already is happening. Like especially like I mean, I know that you're kind of it's cliche for me to bring up the Kurds, but the fucking Kurds. It's because the people defending their own land is probably
the people that they're governing, like the people that
are accepting
their governance. I'm talking about the people in Syria and Iraq. Once they start to put these ridiculous taxes on the people, and once they start fucking cutting their heads off for any little thing, it's gonna start to piss them off, and they're gonna start to go up against them. But as long as we continue to airstrike them, then they can always use that to get those people support again. Because they're going to be like, oh, the only thing that can stop the U.S. is supporting these guys.
There's also the broader implication that I think is important if we're going to be leftist and analyze the thing. Like, this is the direct result of class relations. Like, these groups, they can't exist without, differing relations to production. So say, if there was a collective administration of production, then how can we have these groups warring over land and power? Like it's a direct result of class society. And so like you can't like talking about a solution barring the destruction of class society is like it's like talking about a solution to cancer without chemotherapy or whatever. Like it's on that level of stupidity because it's ignoring the fundamental issue. As long as there is class society, there's going to be different class interests, and thus there's going to be war over land and power in these kinds of groups, especially capitalist society, where people are directly pitted against each other in market competition.
So you're saying the only thing that can possibly defeat ISIS is to destroy class relations in that area?
What? Well, I mean, maybe not like ISIS specifically, but like that kind of
fundamentalism in general is what he's saying.
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying.
I think fundamentalism is more coming from directly imperialism. Like,
yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the two kind of overlap. Like, I guess it's not like entirely one or the other because imperialism is a large
class.
Why? I just
class. Like, I'm not going to deny
that.
Fact.
No, that's not what I was saying. I was just saying that conflict itself relies on class relations, so the larger solution to defeat those problems should be the end of class society. I'm not saying, like, our immediate reaction should be the end of class society. That's the only thing that could ever work to mitigate these problems. No. I'm just saying it's the reason these things happen.
So, we know that, though, so...
But it needs to be put, because not everybody we're trying to give a leftist slant to the news, so that's what I'm doing,
All right.
Because you know that doesn't mean I shouldn't mention it.
Okay. I thought that you were basically trying to say that the only thing that can possibly defeat ISIS is destroying class society.
No.
That was a little fucking ridiculous, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, not like, how should I say this? I don't think that the U.S. should get involved, but like if they just can't fucking keep their hands away from anything, then like I think that Chomsky brought up a somewhat decent point. Like what you should do is help democratic forces within the region, rather than playing this enemy of my enemy is your friend game. Like you should specifically pick out what their ideology is and stuff like that, which would, I think, be much more effective at eliminating these issues. If you just try and fund whoever is in opposition to whatever group, then that's just going to lead to more instability because people are going to oppose that group as well for shit that they do. And people within that group are also going to be anti-American or anti-West, a whole bunch of shit. So like,
but I mean, like,
well, on some level, we shouldn't really care if the United States intervenes. Like, this would be a position for us as we should advocate for revolutionary defeatism, basically, if the U.S. were to intervene in a way.
Yeah, I think revolutionary defeatism is a key to these kinds of things.
Yeah.
Like that's basically what you have to do. I mean,
yeah, and that's
what are you going to side with an imperialist, actor? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, like, I get. Were you talking like in regards to the Kurds, like the U.S. supporting the Kurds because of their ideology?
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. No, that's not quite what I mean. I mean, like, what the U.S. currently does is basically, if we're talking like Syria, for example, arming rebel groups, like, just simply because they are anti-Assad. But these people, like, the shit that they're supporting an Islamic, nation, an Islamic, government, for example, like, that's just gonna lead to the same fucking shit that we've dealt with every fucking other country in the Middle East. Like, it's just going, like, even if they are successful, because we supplied them, I mean, it's the same shit's gonna happen that happened before. There's just gonna be more, anti-American sentiment leading to, terrorist attacks and instability in the region because different groups trying to get into power. Like, it's just gonna fucking repeat.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case even if we're talking about a secular force, though, as well. If we're talking about U.S. involvement, because with the alignment with the U.S. comes corruption. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So even if that group that is secular, if they gain power and they're allies with the U.S., the only thing that's going to lead to that is just more corruption in that region, regardless, even if they don't have that, religious fundamentalist ideology. So I don't think we should advocate U.S. support in any of these cases.
Alright. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of hard. Because, on one hand, these groups are, oftentimes they're really like they seem like the last hope, and they're, just hanging by a string. And so, like, to some extent, like, on the other hand,
do you really want imperialist factions to be in control of the situation? Because that's what you're doing when you call for U.S. back.
Yeah, no, I'm not really like,
like, for instance, like, yeah, the Kurds are a good force generally, but their U.S. backing needs to stop. Like, that just needs to end.
I'm saying that,
the situation with the Kurds right now, it's not like they're fully backed by the U.S. though. I mean,
no, but I'm not saying that they're fully backed by the U.S. They're not. I'm just saying that it happens.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
what I'm saying is, like, we should reject any total U.S. control of those factions, because that's only going to lead to to more corruption in that area.
Yeah, I mean, what I was saying essentially was that, like, I'm conflicted rather than I have a specific viewpoint, because, yeah, you're right, that's gonna lead to more corruption if, they have a lot of control over them. But at the same time, if they fall, what's it worth? You know what I'm saying? If the Kurds were to fall and ISIS were to gain control, would it necessarily be worth it? Would it necessarily be worth it to allow ISIS to gain control?
But would it necessarily be worth it to give America control? I mean,
well, no, that's part of what I'm saying is, like, if you give America, like, if America has total fucking control over it, obviously, that's not gonna really work out very well.
American
What I'm saying is like, how much?
interests are not like American backing and then stopping ISIS. Like you're basically just asking like, instead of we have the guy who murders you with an ice pick, we have the guy who shoots you in the head. Like it's a stupid dichotomy. It's like it's just like revolutionary defeatism. Like there's no reason to support an imperialist imperialist interest coming into play.
Yeah, but I don't think that situation currently exists. So I mean,
it doesn't.
So
but
we
it's
don't
important.
we don't have to talk about
it's
it.
still important to talk about though, because it could exist. But
Yeah, and if it does, then we do take that revolutionary defeatist position.
yeah.
So I mean, like, we talked about ISIS for a little while, so I think we should probably move on to the next topic now.
The next topic is Netanyahu.
Well, hello.
Right.
I'm here. I finally arrived.
Hello, Adam.
Hello, friends.
All right.
So anyone want to introduce the whole Netanyahu fiasco?
Oh.
I don't know.
I hate him.
I know that a lot of opposition has been brewing against Netanyahu in specific areas, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because, like, the whole Netanyahu situation with, like, the flexing towards Iran, when he basically set up a meeting with the Congress to basically shit on Obama and say, like, the way he's approaching Iran is wrong, and that we should do airstrikes against Iran. We shouldn't go have peace talks or whatnot. So that's totally backing against him, because the reason why he did this, he's not going to fucking airstrike Iran. The U.S. is not going to support a war, a huge war in the Middle East. He was just doing that to flex because there's an election coming up.
Right.
This is totally backfiring against him, because now there's a huge rally in Tel Aviv, an anti-Netanyahu rally in Tel Aviv. And now you have all these people in Israel who's like, this guy is fucking crazy. He wants to get into a war with Iran? No, we got to vote this guy out. So he thought that this was some type of patriotic, oh, I'm flexing my muscle, oh, I'm going to shit on Obama, I'm totally going to win this election. And now it's like totally coming back to bite him in the ass. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Didn't they just have like a re-election back in January? Like, reformed or something in Israel?
It wasn't an election for the prime minister.
They have an election. No, they have a proper election. Wait, never mind.
Sarah, are you going to say?
Oh.
They have an election on the 17th of March.
Yeah.
I'm hyped for that. It's not like I really care about the elections, it's just that I want to see Netanyahu lose.
Yeah.
It's gonna be funny.
Now, regardless of the fact, like, no Israeli president is going to stop the settlerism that's going on in the West Bank and the bombardment of Gaza.
No,
but at least
there's a reason that happens. It's not because Netanyahu is a dictator or whatever.
Yeah,
it's because the state has an interest as a class organization in doing what they're doing to Palestine. So.
Yeah, I just want to say that to, like, let our viewers know that we're not fucking saying that, oh, get rid of Netanyahu so we can stop what's going on in Gaza and the West Bank. We're just saying it would be so funny if Netanyahu loses this election because all that flexing that he was doing, thinking that he was some fucking big shot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be funny if he loses.
Yeah. All right. So next topic. Okay.
Yeah.
Ayatollah dying, and that's the last one for today.
William told me about this one. I don't really know much about it, so I guess he could like introduce it.
Yeah, William.
The Ayatollah, I can't pronounce his name. I'm afraid of trying to pronounce it. The supreme leader of Iran is hospitalized and in serious condition. If you don't know how Iran works, the supreme leader is the de facto, like, person in direct control of Iran who's elected for life and serves over everything else.
Basically, if you hear Ayatollah in front of his name, that's what he is.
Yeah, he has been in power since the end of the 80s, and this thing is, I don't think it might not have a chance. It doesn't seem to change much because the conservative faction is still in control of the elite council, which will elect a new leader.
Is it the same faction that he was part of?
Yeah, the same faction which has been in control for the last since the '79 revolution.
Right.
But yeah, though there is, for the first time in 10 years, an election of both that council and the parliament in 2016.
Right.
Which is coming up.
Okay, so who wants to bet that Caleb Maupin will be the next Ayatollah of Iran? Who wants to put money on it?
I wonder if he does. I wonder how he's gonna handle the heroin addiction in Iran. Like, is he gonna keep doing the public executions, or what the fuck is gonna happen? Like, is he gonna be like?
I wonder if he'll make the reforms. I wonder if he'll make the reforms so that communists won't be hanged anymore on public squares. Maybe he'll do that. Maybe he'll do that much because Iran is a progressive state after all.
It's a dictatorship of the proletariat. That's not even a question.
Yeah, that hangs communists. Yeah.
It's literally fighting bourgeois society.
I mean, Charlist World Party.
I mean, it's fighting ISIS, so
Yeah.
It's good.
If it's fighting ISIS, it must be good. Never mind that the U.S. is fighting ISIS as well.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, is that it?
Yeah.
That's it.
I guess I joined rather late.
Okay, Aspen, turn off to live.
Okay.